The lights died with a collective gasp from the campus, plunging Hawthorne University into a void so absolute it felt like the world had swallowed its own heartbeat. In that instant, as screams echoed off the brick dorms and phone screens flickered like dying fireflies, a hand strong, unfamiliar, calloused from God knows what, gripped my jaw, tilting my face upward into the sliver of moonlight that dared pierce the storm. "Breathe," the stranger whispered, his voice cutting through the panic like a lifeline thrown into black water, and in his eyes, I saw not fear, but a fierce, unspoken promise that we'd survive this night together, or not at all. I never believed in fate. Not really. Not the kind peddled in those dog-eared romance novels my sister smuggled into our childhood home back in rural Ohio. Life was too messy, too laced with the sharp edges of regret and the dull ache of unrequited glances in crowded lecture halls. But that Thursday in late October, as Hurricane Alara clawed its way up the eastern seaboard, fate didn't knock politely. Kicked the door down, leaving me soaked and shivering in the quad, my backpack spilling textbooks into the mud like forgotten confessions. Hawthorne U, perched on the foggy bluffs of coastal Maine, was the kind of place that screamed old money and older secrets, ivy-cloaked libraries that whispered of Pulitzer winners, frat houses thumping with bass that masked the loneliness of kids far from home. I was Alex Rivera, 21, a psych major scraping by on scholarships and late-night shifts at the campus coffee cart, the one where the espresso machine wheezed like it was on its last breath. My life was a careful routine, classes on Freud and attachment theory, avoiding eye contact with Keith Harlan, my ex who still haunted the edges of every party like a ghost I couldn't exorcise. Keith. God. Even thinking his name twisted something low in my gut. We'd been a thing freshman year, a whirlwind of stolen kisses behind the science building, his golden boy laugh echoing in empty dorm rooms. He was the lacrosse captain, all broad shoulders and easy charm, the guy who made coming out feel like winning the lottery. But by sophomore fall, it soured. He ghosted me after his dad found out, traded our late-night talks for keg stands and a parade of anonymous hookups. "It's not you, Alex," he'd said, eyes averted, like I was a stain he could bleach out. "It's just complicated, complicated." That word had carved itself into me, a scar that itched whenever I saw him across the quad, arm slung around some new pledge. That night, though, Keith was the last thing on my mind. I'd been hunkered down in the psych lounge, cramming for midterms under the fluorescent buzz, when the storm hit full force. Winds howled like banshees, rattling the windows until they cracked, and then snap, the power grid gave way. Alarms wailed briefly before dying, plunging us into Stygian dark. Panic rippled out, chairs scraping, voices rising in a cacophony of "what the fuck?" and "is this the end?" My phone's flashlight app sputtered to life, casting jittery shadows on faces twisted in fear, freshmen clutching each other, a TA barking orders no one heard. I bolted for the door, heart slamming against my ribs, the air thick with the metallic tang of ozone and wet earth seeping through the seals. Outside, the quad was a war zone of chaos. Students stumbling over tent pegs from some aborted homecoming setup, umbrellas inverting like broken wings, rain lashing sideways in sheets that stung like needles. Lightning forked the sky, illuminating the chaos in stark white flashes, the bell tower looming like a skeletal finger, the frat row a blur of silhouettes fleeing toward the gym. That's when I tripped. My sneaker caught on a root, exposed by the deluge, and I went down hard, palms scraping gravel, water flooding my jeans. The impact knocked the breath from me, and for a split second, the world narrowed to the roar in my ears and the cold mud kissing my cheek. Then, hands, those hands, yanked me up, one under my arm, the other cradling the back of my head like I was something fragile, worth saving. Easy. I've got you. The voice was low, gravelly, laced with a faint southern drawl that cut through the storm's fury. In the next lightning crack, I saw him, tall, maybe 6'2", with rain-slicked black hair curling at the nape of his neck, a jaw shadowed by stubble, and eyes dark, almost black, that locked onto mine with an intensity that made my pulse stutter. He wore a faded leather jacket over a thermal, jeans tucked into scuffed boots, like he'd wandered off a Harley ad and straight into my nightmare. I tried to pull away, instinct kicking in stranger danger, drilled into us since kindergarten, but his grip on my jaw was gentle, insistent, thumb brushing my rain-chilled skin as he searched my face. Hey, look at me. You're okay. Name's Seth. What's yours? Alex, I managed, voice cracking like the thunder overhead. What the hell's happening? Power's out campus-wide. Generators flooded, they say. Evac to the old auditorium. It's got backup. He nodded toward the path, but didn't let go, his other hand steadying my elbow. Close. He smelled like pine and motor oil, a grounding scent amid the chaos. Stick with me? Safer in pairs. I nodded, too dazed to argue, and we plunged into the fray together. The path to the auditorium was a gauntlet, branches whipping like lashes, groups clustering and scattering like frightened deer. Seth moved with purpose, shielding me from the worst of it, his body a buffer against the wind. We dodged a toppled bike rack, sidestepped a knot of sorority girls huddled under a tarp, their laughter brittle as glass. This is insane, I shouted over the gale. Insane's my middle name, he yelled back, flashing a grin that was all teeth and mischief, white against the dark. It hit me then, irrational and electric. This stranger, holding me steady in the literal dark, felt more real than anyone I'd known in the light. By the time we burst through the auditorium doors, the crowd inside was a heaving mass, hundreds crammed onto bleachers and the stage, emergency lanterns casting long shadows that danced like specters. The air hummed with anxious chatter, the metallic creak of metal chairs, the distant crackle of a battery-powered radio announcing shelter in place, orders from the National Guard. Seth steered us to a corner near the wings, away from the crush, where the air was cooler, laced with the musty scent of old velvet curtains. We slumped against the wall, breaths ragged, clothes dripping onto the scuffed linoleum. My teeth chattered, adrenaline crashing into exhaustion, and Seth noticed immediately. He shrugged off his jacket, draping it over my shoulders, warm from his body, heavy with the weight of his care. Here. Can't have you freezing on me. Thanks, I murmured, pulling it close. It dwarfed me, the leather soft as butter, monogrammed faintly on the cuff. SB. You always this heroic. Seth B? He chuckled, a low rumble that vibrated through the space between us. Only when the world's ending. You from around here, Alex? You don't strike me as the Ivy League type. I bristled a little. Did I have scholarship kid stamped on my forehead? But his tone was curious, not cutting. Ohio. Transferred in last year. You, Texas-born, Maine adopted. Grad student in engineering. Fixing what breaks. His eyes crinkled at the corners, and in the lantern light, I caught the faint scar above his left brow, a silvery crescent that begged questions I wasn't ready to ask. We talked then, words tumbling out like the rain outside, halting at first, then freer, as if the blackout had stripped away the polite filters we all wore. He told me about the garage he tinkered in back home, rebuilding engines from junkyard scraps. The way grease under his nails felt like freedom. I confessed the psych papers that kept me up. The way Freud's talking cure sounded noble until you tried it on your own fractured heart. Laughter slipped in, unexpected. His dry quip about the dean's emergency voice sounding like a malfunctioning Roomba. My story of the time I accidentally Freudian slipped in a seminar and called the professor Mom. Hours blurred. The storm raged on. But in our corner, time bent. Seth's knee brushed mine as we shifted, a casual touch that sent sparks up my spine, and I wondered if he felt it too, the pull, magnetic and unspoken. Keith's face flickered in my mind, a warning ghost, but Seth's presence drowned it out, his quiet intensity a balm on old wounds. Around midnight, the radio crackled with updates. Roads closed. Power out till dawn at least. A hush fell over the crowd, broken only by snores and the patter of leaks from the roof. Seth leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. You ever think about it? How one night like this could rewrite everything? All the time, I whispered back, heart thudding. His hand found mine in the dark, fingers lacing with a gentleness that belied his rough edges. And for the first time in years, I didn't pull away. The blackout wasn't just the lights, it was the veil lifting, exposing the raw ache of wanting to be seen. As the lanterns dimmed to conserve battery, we dozed in fits, backs to the wall, his jacket a shared tent. Dreams wove in, fragments of his drawl, the press of his palm, the storm's howl morphing into a siren's call. When I woke to gray pre-dawn light filtering through high windows, Seth was gone. Jacket folded neatly beside me, a scribbled note on a torn program. Find me in the shop. Bay 7. Coffee's on me. Clutched it, pulse racing, the world outside stirring back to electric life. But nothing would ever be the same. That night, in the dark, Seth had held more than my face. He'd cracked open my chest, letting light flood the shadows I'd hidden for too long. The campus awoke to a sodden hush, the kind that follows a tempest's tantrum, puddles mirroring shattered skies, leaves plastered like confetti from a funeral. Power trucks rumbled in by noon, strings of lights flickering back to life like hesitant breaths. But the buzz felt off-kilter, as if Hawthorne had collectively held its breath and forgotten how to exhale. I wandered the quad in Seth's jacket, the note burning a hole in my pocket, every glance toward the engineering quad pulling me like gravity. Bay 7 was a squat brick outbuilding behind the STEM complex, its roll-up door yawning open to reveal a symphony of controlled chaos. Tool benches scarred by years of battles won, half-disassembled engines gleaming under fluorescent strips, the air thick with oil and solder. Seth was there, bent over a carburetor, sleeves rolled to his elbows, forearms corded with muscle and faint tattoos. A compass rose on one, inked in faded blue, pointing nowhere but home. He didn't hear me at first, humming some low-country tune under his breath, and I watched, transfixed, the way his focus softened the world to just him and the machine. Rescuing damsels in the daylight now? I said, leaning against the door frame, aiming for casual but landing somewhere breathless. He straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. that grin breaking slow and sure. Only the ones who owe me coffee. Black, 2 sugars, don't judge. His eyes raked over me, lingering on the jacket, and something warm flickered there, unspoken but electric. We ended up at the cart where I worked. The espresso machine miraculously spared, steam hissing like it was glad to be alive. Over paper cups that steamed in the chill, conversation flowed easier than the night before. No storm to blame, just us, peeling back layers in the mundane light of day. He asked about Ohio winters, the way snow muffled everything until you felt like the last man on earth. I probed his Texas roots, the endless skies that made a boy dream of roads untraveled. Ran from it all at 18, he admitted, stirring his cup absently. Dad was a rancher, hard man, harder liquor. Figured college was my out. Fix things that don't fight back. And do they? I asked, tracing the rim of my cup. Fight back less. Sometimes. His gaze held mine. Steady. Depends on what's worth fixing. The week unspooled like a film reel, each frame sharper, more vivid. Seth became a fixture. Study sessions in the library where he'd doodle schematics on my notes, turning attachment diagrams into Rube Goldberg contraptions. Walks along the bluff trail at dusk. Salt wind whipping our laughter as we skipped stones into the Atlantic. He was tactile in ways that unraveled me. A hand on my lower back guiding me through crowds, fingers brushing hair from my eyes after a gust. No labels, no grand declarations, just the quiet build of something real, fragile as sea glass. Keith noticed, of course. He always did, like a shark scenting blood. It started subtle, a sidelong glance in the dining hall. His lacrosse buddies ribbing him about going soft, while his eyes drilled into Seth across the room. Then bolder, a hey, stranger, tossed my way in the hall, casual as if we hadn't shattered each other 2 years back. I brushed it off, but it lingered, a thorn under my skin. One Friday, the air crisp with the promise of frost, Seth dragged me to a bonfire on the beach below campus, a ragtag affair thrown by the engineering crew, driftwood crackling under stars that pricked the velvet sky. Guitars strummed folk covers, bottles passed hand to hand, and the firelight painted Seth in golds and oranges, his laugh booming as he arm-wrestled a wiry comp-sci kid. I sat cross-legged on a blanket, nursing a beer, content in the glow of it all, until Keith sauntered up, beer in hand, that predatory smile I'd once mistaken for charm. Alex. Didn't expect to see you slumming it with the gearheads. His voice was honey over gravel, eyes flicking to Seth, who was mid-story, oblivious. Just living my best life, I said, forcing lightness. What brings the king of the hill down here? Scouting talent. He dropped beside me, too close, thigh pressing mine. Heard your new friends got skills. You always did pick 'em interesting. The implication hung, barbed. I shifted away, but the sand trapped me. Drop it, Keith. He leaned in, breath sour with hops. Come on, Riv. We were good once. This phase is cute, but, Keith, Seth's voice sliced through, low and even, as he materialized behind us, hand light on my shoulder. Room's getting crowded. Mind giving it some air? Keith's jaw tightened, but he stood, brushing sand from his chinos like it offended him. Watch your back, grease monkey. Not everyone's as welcoming as Alex. He stalked off, swallowed by the shadows, and the tension uncoiled slow from my chest. Seth sank down, arm draping casual around my shoulders. Old flame, more like old arson. I leaned into him, the solid warmth of his side a shield. Sorry. He's persistent. Not your fault. His thumb traced lazy circles on my arm. Soothing. You deserve better than ghosts. We stayed till the fire died to embers. Embers that mirrored the spark low in my belly when Seth kissed me goodnight. Soft. Tentative. Under the boardwalk's slatted shadow. His lips tasted of salt and smoke. Hands framing my face like that first night. And I melted into it. Fingers tangling in his hair. It was chaste. Charged. The kind of kiss that promised more without demanding it. A bridge from dark to dawn. But bridges burn easy. Monday brought rain again. Softer this time. Drumming the lecture hall roof as I zoned through stats. My phone buzzed mid-equation. A photo from an unknown number. Keith. Shirtless in the locker room. Arm around a teammate, nothing explicit. But the caption twisted the knife. Miss this? He's just a rebound. Babe. Come back where you belong. I deleted it. Hands shaking. But the poison seeped. That afternoon in Bay 7. Seth sensed the shift. My silences longer. Laughs forced. Talk to me, he said, setting down a wrench. Grease-streaked face earnest. It's nothing. I lied. Then cracked. The words spilled. Keith's charm offensive. The photo. The way betrayal echoed like a bad habit. Seth listened. Jaw clenched. Then pulled me into a hug that smelled of home. Strong arms enveloping. Chin resting atop my head. He's wrong, he murmured into my hair. You're not a rebound. You're the spark that lit this whole damn thing. We made love that night. Not bodies crashing, but souls aligning in his off-campus apartment. A converted mill loft with exposed beams and a bed that sagged in the middle like an invitation. It was slow, reverent. Hands mapping scars and freckles. Whispers trading vulnerabilities in the half-light. No rush. No conquest, just us. Learning the language of trust. One breath at a time. For a while, it held. We carved out a rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets. Coffee brewed black. Evenings on the bluffs. Debating everything from quantum entanglement to the ethics of forgiveness. Seth opened up about his own shadows. A brother lost to the bottle. The compass tattoo a talisman against wandering too far. I shared the weight of my mom's hospital bills. The scholarship letters that felt like chains disguised as wings. In him, I found not a savior, but a mirror flawed, fierce, fighting the same quiet wars. Thanksgiving loomed, a specter of empty tables. Come home with me, Seth urged over pancakes one gray morning. Mom's got a farm upstate, nothing fancy, but the pie's killer. Say yes. I hesitated, Keith's ghost whispering doubts. But Seth's eyes, those dark pools of certainty, drowned them. Yes. The drive was 4 hours of winding roads. Pines blurring past like sentinels. His truck rumbling with classic rock and stolen glances. His mom's place was a weathered Victorian on a hill overlooking Acadia. Smoke curling from the chimney like a welcome. Ellen Blackwood was a force. Silver-streaked hair in a loose braid. Hands calloused from garden dirt. Hug that squeezed the loneliness out. Heard all about you, Alex, she said, eyes twinkling as she pressed pie into my hands. Don't let this one tinker your heart to pieces. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Turkey carved with a pocket knife. Stories of Seth's boyhood mischief. Laughter that echoed off rafters. Under the table, his foot hooked mine, a secret anchor. That night, in the guest room with its quilted bed and frost-laced window, we lay awake, fingers linked, whispering dreams into the dark. This, he said, voice thick, this is what I ran toward. You, I believed him. God, how I believed. But belief's a fragile thing, and the world loves to test it. December draped hawthorn in a hush of snow, blanketing the campus in white that muffled footsteps and secrets alike. Finals loomed like storm clouds, but Seth and I navigated them hand-in-hand study marathons fueled by vending machine caffeine, his notes scribbled with hearts disguised as circuit diagrams. Felt invincible, this thing we'd built from blackout embers. A love that was equal parts fire and forge, tempering us stronger. Keith, though, was a shadow lengthening. Whispers slithered through the halls, rumors of his comeback tour, charming his way back into orbits he'd torched. I caught him once in the gym, spotting for a freshman with eyes too wide, too adoring, our gazes locked in the mirror, his a challenge, mine a wall. Happy for you, Riv, he called, towel slung over his shoulder. But happiness is fleeting. You know that. I walked out, pulse thundering, straight to Seth's shop. He was welding, sparks flying like angry stars, mask flipped up as I burst in. Breathe, he echoed that first night, pulling me close, the acrid scent of metal clinging to his skin. We didn't talk about Keith, not then, but his hold said enough. I'm here. I'm yours. Christmas break split us. Me to Ohio for obligatory family cheer. Him to the farm for Ellen's traditions. Texts bridged the miles. Photos of my sister's lopsided gingerbread men. His of snowshoeing with the dog. A mutt named Rusty with eyes like melted chocolate. Miss your laugh, he sent one night, followed by a voice note of him humming our song. A raspy cover of Wonderwall that made my chest ache. Hurry back. Spark. New Year's dawned crisp, and I returned to a campus half empty, resolutions hanging in the air like confetti. Seth met me at the bus stop, breath fogging in the cold, arms wrapping me tight as if I'd been gone years, not weeks. We rang in the year on his loft's fire escape, champagne fizzing in mugs, his kiss tasting of promise and frost. To us, he toasted, clinking against mine. Whatever that wrecks or builds, spring crept in slow, tentative, crocuses pushing through snowmelt, the air buzzing with thaw. Our rhythm deepened. Weekend drives to Portland for lobster rolls and indie flicks, nights where we'd cook disasters in his tiny kitchen, flour-dusted and laughing till our sides split. He taught me to change a tire, hands over mine on the lug wrench, patient as the tide. I dragged him to a poetry slam, where his shy applause after my amateur verse made my words feel immortal. But cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Seth grew quieter some evenings, staring at his phone with a furrow between his brows. Work stuff, he'd say, waving it off. A thesis snag, advisor pressure. I let it slide, too wrapped in the glow to press. Keith, meanwhile, escalated, a chance run-in at the coffee cart, where he lingered, tipping extra with a wink that curdled my stomach. Tell your cowboy I said hi. Wouldn't want him rusting from neglect. The betrayal brewed in the undercurrents, invisible till it crested. Hit mid-March, a Friday fractured by sun that belied the storm inside. I'd finished an early shift, backpack slung, heading to surprise Seth at the shop with takeout from our favorite Thai place. Pad CEW. Extra lime. His weakness. The bay door was ajar. Voices drifting out low and urgent. I paused. Curry containers warm against my chest. Curiosity edging into unease. Can't keep stringing him along. Seth. It's cruel. Keith's voice. Smooth as oil. Laced with false concern. A beat of silence. Then Seth, my Seth, sighing heavy. It's not like that. Alex is. He's everything. But the funding, if Harlan pulls strings, is a done deal. Internship at Raytheon. Green card sorted. You know what that's worth to a guy like me. Green card. The words landed like a gut punch, stealing my air. Seth wasn't American-born. Texas was a lie, a half-truth spun from Southern lilt. He was undocumented, pieced together from a childhood fleeing cartel shadows in Mexico, chasing the American dream on a tourist visa that expired years back. He'd never trusted me with that fracture. Keith chuckled, low and victorious. Everything's got a price, amigo. You want the stars? Sometimes you bed down with the devil. One favor, back my bid for student senate. Convince Alex to vouch. His psych cred sways the bleeding hearts. In return, I make calls. Dad's on the board. It's poetry. And if I say no? Seth's tone was steel, but edged with desperation. Then your little fairy tale ends. Ice doesn't care about love stories. Footsteps shifted, gravel crunching. Think on it. For him, I backed away, containers slipping from numb fingers, sauce splattering the path like blood. The world tilted, betrayal a bitter flood in my throat. Seth, bartering my name for his future? Using Keith, the man who'd gutted me, to grease the wheels? I ran, blind to the quad's bloom, straight to my dorm where the walls closed in like a cage. He texted an hour later. Where are you? Food cold. Then calls. Voicemails thick with worry. I let them pile, curling into bed. His jacket, shrouded over me like a shroud. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of compasses spinning wild, pointing to nowhere. Morning brought confrontation, raw as an open wound. He showed at my door, eyes red-rimmed, hair wild. Alex, talk to me. What happened? I shoved the phone at him. Anonymous screenshot I'd begged from a mutual friend. The conversation captured in grainy clarity. His face drained, comprehension dawning like dawn's cruel light. It's not God. It's not what you think. Isn't it? My voice cracked, fury and hurt tangling. You lied. About everything. The Texas boy, the easy fixes. And now, selling me out to him, he reached, but I flinched back. Keith cornered me. The internship's my shot, legit papers, a life without looking over my shoulder. He dangled it, twisted it. I was gonna tell you, after I shut him down. Swear it. Shut him down how? By playing his game. Tears burned, hot and unbidden. I thought we were real. Not collateral. We are real. He stepped closer, voice breaking. You're the only true thing I've got. I'd burn it all before hurting you. But doubt was a virus, replicating in the silence. I sent him away, door clicking shut like finality. Days blurred into a haze. Classes attended in body only. Friends' concerned glances deflected with shrugs. Keith texted victory emojis, blocked without reply. Seth's notes slipped under my door. Poems scrawled on shop napkins. I'm sorry inked 100 ways, but I left them unread. The fortress of pain. The conflict festered, climax building like thunderheads. Midterms week. I cracked, wandered to the bluffs at midnight, wind keening, waves a black churn below. The drop called, seductive in its end to the ache, and I teetered, toes curling over the edge, tears freezing on my lashes. Footsteps crunched behind Seth, jacket flapping like wings, face etched with terror. Alex, he lunged, arms banding my waist, yanking me back to solid ground. We collapsed together, his body shuddering against mine, sobs racking us both. Don't. Please, God, don't. I can't, I gasped, fists clenched in his shirt. The lies. It hollows me out. Then let me fill it. He cupped my face, thumbs wiping salt tracks, eyes fierce through tears. No more shadows. I came here at 12, smuggled in a truck's false bottom, chasing my mom's dream of streets paved safe. Forged the accent, the story's survival, not deceit. With you, I wanted to be enough as is. The confession poured, a dam breaking, the fear of deportation, the thesis as his anchor, Keith's offer a serpent's whisper. I told him no. Recorded it, sent to the dean. He's done, suspended pending review. Cost me the internship, but gained me this you. If you'll have me. I searched his face, the raw honesty stripping me bare. Why me, after everything? Because you see the broken parts and stay to mend. His forehead pressed to mine, breaths mingling. Teach me trust, Alex. I'll learn. We clung there. The seas roar a hymn to second chances. And in that precipice moment, love wasn't a spark, it was a bonfire, consuming doubts to forge something unbreakable. The thaw came gradual, like spring coaxing crocuses from frostbitten earth. Reconciliation wasn't a switch flipped, but a bridge rebuilt plank by plank. Awkward coffees in neutral corners of the library, where we'd sit knees touching, words halting before gaining ground. Seth bared it all. The coyote who'd promised passage for pennies, the nights huddled in border town motels, the forged transcripts that bought him Hawthorne's gates. I hated the mask, he admitted over cooling lattes, fingers tracing mine on the scarred oak table. But you make me want the truth, unvarnished. I shared my own fractures. The Ohio trailer park where dreams were luxuries, Mom's cancer bills stacking like Jenga blocks, Keith's abandonment a masterclass in self-doubt. You held my face that night, I said, voice soft in the hush of stacks. Saw me when I was invisible. That's why I stayed, why I fight for this. We emerged cautious, but whole walks resuming, hands linked without apology. The campus's spring bloom mirroring our tentative green. Keith's shadow receded. Suspension turned expulsion after the recording surfaced. His pleas via mutuals met with stone silence. Whispers painted him villain, but pity flickered too. A golden boy dethroned, privilege's double edge. I felt no triumph, only release, the weight lifting like fog burned by sun. Summer beckoned, a blank canvas. Seth's thesis defended with a fire that earned nods from stone-faced profs. Mine submitted amid all-nighters. Freud's ghosts laid to rest. Graduation loomed distant, but for now, freedom. A road trip south, his truck loaded with coolers and maps. Destination anywhere but here. Texas for real this time, he teased. Key turning with a rumble. No lies, just barbecue and bad motels. The drive was a revelation. Interstates unspooling like veins, carrying us through Carolina pines and Georgia clay, radio crooning Springsteen anthems that felt written for us. We camped in the Smokies, tent zipped against chill, his body a furnace at my back. Stories swapped till stars wheeled overhead. Remember the blackout? He'd murmur into my neck, lips brushing skin. Thought I'd lost you before I found you. In New Orleans, jazz spilled from Bourbon Street doorways, pulling us into a whirl of brass and beads. We danced clumsy in a courtyard, his hands on my hips guiding steps I mangled, laughter bubbling free. That night, in a creaky B&B with lace curtains, intimacy deepened, not urgent, but exploratory, a dialogue of touches that spoke volumes unsaid. His fingers traced the curve of my spine, reverent. Mine mapped the tattoo's lines, learning the stories inked beneath. It was love made manifest, vulnerable and vast, sealing us tighter than any vow. But life, that great leveler, tested anew. Back at Hawthorne for summer session, me tutoring freshman psych. Him TING circuits. The call came like lightning from blue. Ellen, hospitalized. A heart scare after years ignoring the farm's toll. She's stable, Seth said, voice hollow over speakerphone, packing a duffel with mechanical precision. But I gotta go. Now, I'll come, I insisted. Classes be damned. He protested distance. My job. But relented at my glare. And we tore north. Truck eating miles while worry gnawed. The farm was a tableau of arrested time. Porch swing creaking in wind. Rusty whining at the gate. Ellen lay pale in Bangor General. Monitors beeping a mechanical lullaby. But her grip on Seth's hand was iron. Brought the troublemaker. She rasped, eyes lighting on me, pulling me into a conspirator's wink. Good. Keeps him honest. We settled in, tag-teaming hospital vigils and homestead chores, milking goats that headbutt like linebackers, mending fences splintered by winter's grudge. Nights, we'd collapse on the sagging couch, exhaustion breeding honesty. She raised me solo after Dad bolted, Seth confessed one evening, fire crackling in the grate. Taught me to fix what's broke, but never how to ask for help. His head on my shoulder, vulnerability a quiet thunder. You're not alone, I whispered, kissing his temple. Not anymore. Ellen's rally was fierce, main stock, through and through. Discharged a week later, she bossed us from the kitchen table, prescribing pie and fewer heroics. Over blackberry cobbler, she cornered me. He loves hard. That one. Breaks harder too. You in for the long haul. Hook, line, sinker, I said, and her laugh was medicine. Fall semester crashed in, leaves turning riotous reds and golds. Our rhythms synced deeper. Shared apartment off campus. A third-floor walk-up with bay windows overlooking the harbor. Walls papered in blueprints and book quotes. Mornings, he'd brew coffee strong as tar, stealing kisses over the steam. Evenings, we'd cook, his Tex-Mex fusion clashing gloriously with my Midwestern meatloaf. Friends folded us in, engineering barbecues where I'd hold his beer during shop talk, psych mixers where he'd charm profs with quiet insight. Yet undercurrents stirred. Seth's job hunt intensified. Postgrad offers trickling in, each laced with relocation strings. Boston startups promising stability. Silicon Valley lures of stock options. What if it's not here? He voiced one night, rain pattering the glass like impatient fingers. What if chasing the dream pulls us apart? Then we chase together. I pulled him close, hearts hammering tandem. Roots aren't places, they're people. Winter gripped again. Holidays a whirlwind. Ohio for my family's awkward cheer. Mom's eyes misty as she hugged Seth like a long-lost son. Dad gruffly approving over Packers games. Back north. Ellen's farm twinkled with lights. Our first Christmas as us. Stockings hung tandem. His gift a leather-bound journal inscribed, "For the stories we'll write." Mine. A custom tool roll. Pockets for every wrench. Etched with "Fixer of Worlds." New Year brought resolve. But fate, ever the trickster, dealt a curve. February's end. A letter arrived, official seal glaring. Raytheon, post-Keith fallout. Offering Seth the internship anew. No strings but one. 6 months in Virginia. Start date April. It's the green card, he said, paper trembling in his grip. Legit path. No shadows. Joy warred with dread. We'll make it work, I vowed. But distance loomed. A chasm widening. The goodbye was a quiet devastation. Airport dawn. His flight boarding while snow flurried outside. Hugs lingered. Kisses salt-tanged with unshed tears. Call every night, he murmured, forehead to mine. This isn't goodbye. It's see you in the rearview. Months stretched. A test of sinew and soul. Texts pinged hourly, his welded a drone frame today. Thought of you sketching Freudians. Mine, lecture on resilience. Practicing it. Video calls bridged nights. His face pixelated but eyes warm. Sharing dorm room woes and southern drawl slipping thicker. Loneliness gnawed. But love fortified. Letters mailed old school. Perfumed with his cologne. Poems typed on my laptop. Raw and revealing. Midway. Crisis. A campus party. Liquor flowing. A classmate's hand lingering too long on my arm. I pulled away, but guilt gnawed. Confessed in a 2 a.m. call. You're mine, Seth growled, voice fierce across miles. No ghosts. Only us. Spring thawed the ache. His rotation ended early. Truck pulling up unannounced outside our walk-up. Him leaping out with a grin that split the sun. Surprise. Spark. Couldn't stay away. Reunion was fire, bodies colliding in the doorway. Laughter and tears mingling. The world riding on its axis. We burned the distance in fevered talks. Plans forged over dawn coffee. Grad school deferrals. My applications to DC programs. A life woven seamless. But humanism whispers that joy's not unalloyed. It's tempered by the world's grit. As summer bloomed, Ellen's health faltered again. Subtler this time. Fatigue stealing her garden days. Doctor's visits cloaked in optimism. Just tired bones, she'd wave off. But worry etched Seth's face. A new scar. We rallied. Family now in truth. Me weeding rows while he tinkered the tractor. Evenings with her stories of border crossings and starlit hopes. You too, she'd say. I soft. You're the dream I chased. Don't let go. In that, the betrayal's echo faded, not erased, but transmuted into strength. A reminder that love's not blind. It's bespectacled, seeing flaws and choosing anyway. Autumn's palette deepened to amber and rust. Hawthorne's bells tolling senior year like a summons to reckoning. Seth and I dove in tandem my psych honors thesis on trauma bonds. His capstone a prototype solar grid for off-grid communities. Born of his border-born ingenuity. Our apartment pulsed with purpose. Whiteboards scrawled with timelines, takeout boxes nesting like evidence of battles waged. Ellen's decline shadowed it all, a quiet undertow. Scans revealed more than fatigue, cancer. Aggressive, rooted deep. Lung, she said flatly over phone, voice steady as Maine granite. From the years chain-smoking to spite his ghost, Seth flew north weekly, me tagging when schedules bent. The farm a sanctuary of pie scents and porch swings, where she'd grill us on futures with granny wisdom. Build something lasting, she'd urge, blanket tucked on the glider, Rusty at her feet. Love like this? It's rarer than hen's teeth. Guard it fierce. We did nights in her kitchen, her directing a fumbling feast, laughter masking the lump in every throat. Seth's eyes grew haunted, the boy who'd fixed machines now powerless before this unraveling. What if I lose her? He'd whisper post-calls, head in my lap on our couch, my fingers combing his hair like incantations. Then we hold the pieces, I'd reply, kissing his knuckles. Together, campus life buffered the grief. Tailgates where we'd cheer the Quakers to improbable wins, his arm slung casual, mine waving foam fingers like a fool. Poetry readings in the quad, where I'd recite verses laced with his name in metaphor, earning wolf whistles and his blush. Intimacy evolved too. Mornings lazy with sunlight slanting through blinds, bodies entwined in a language of sighs and shared silences, affirming life's pulse against encroaching dark. Climax crested unbidden, a November gale mirroring the one that birthed us. Ellen worsened, hospice whispers turning to reality. Seth dropped everything, thesis half-formed, driving through blizzards to her side. I followed days later, finals forsaken, the apartment echoingly empty. The farm was hushed, snow blanketing fields like a shroud, her room a cocoon of monitors and morphine. She rallied for us, one last blaze, a bedside vow renewal of sorts, her presiding in flannel pajamas, Rusty as witness. Seth Abraham Blackwood, do you swear to love this fool through oil stains and Ohio winters? She'd prompt, voice rasping but eyes alight. I do, he'd choke, hand in mine, rings we'd forged from scrap silver glinting. And you, Alex Rivera, promised to keep his compass true. With everything, I'd affirm, tears carving paths. She passed at dawn, the window framing a sky bruised purple, her hand slipping from ours like a leaf on wind. Grief hit tidal. Seth retreating to the barn, wrench in hand smashing tools in impotent rage. Me wandering pastures, wind whipping sobs from my chest. Funeral was small Maine folk in wool, eulogies laced with her firecracker tales. She chased dreams across borders, the minister intoned, and left us chasing ours. In the aftermath, betrayal's specter resurfaced. Not Keith's, but fate's cruel jest. Sorting her attic, we unearthed letters, yellowed envelopes from Seth's father, postmarked Mexico, pleading return after years of silence. He knew, Seth breathed, paper crumbling in his fist. About the coyote, the risks. Wrote her to stop it, but she burned them, chose the fight. Rage boiled, a fresh wound atop the old. Why hide it? Another mask. Not hers, mine. He sank to the floorboards, dust motes dancing like accusations. I found one as a kid, confronted her. She swore it'd protect me, ignorance as armor. But it was fear, Alex. Same as mine with you. The fight erupted. Words weapons. My accusations of inherited deceit. His of my distrust's chokehold. You think I want this? Layers on layers till I'm buried? He roared, voice echoing off rafters. I love you, raw. Real, but if you can't see past the scars, what's left? I stormed out, truck keys jangling, driving blind through flurries to the coast. Waves crashed furious, mirroring the storm in my soul. Love's depth a double-edged blade, cutting deepest when trusted. Hours passed, phone silent, regret curdling. Returning at dusk, the farm lights glowed soft. Seth on the porch, eyes hollow, a letter extended, his father's, unburned. Read it. Then decide. The words were halting Spanish, translated in Ellen's script. Pleas for forgiveness. A son's birthright denied by poverty's chains. He never stopped loving, Seth said, voice small. Just couldn't bridge the miles. Forgiveness flowed then. Not easy but earned, arms enfolding. Apologies murmured into collars. We're both patched quilts, I said, tracing his jaw. But whole in the weaving, winter yielded to spring, grief's edge blunted by time's mercy. We honored her, solar panels crowning the barn, powering the well, a legacy of light. Seth's thesis sword, dedicated to Ellen, fixer of impossible things. Mine delved trauma's redemptive arc, footnotes citing our blackout night. Graduation dawned brilliant, gowns billowing on the quad, families cheering from stands. We crossed the stage hand in hand, diplomas clutched, futures unfurling. After, under the bell tower, he dropped to one knee, ring glinting simple gold, engraved with coordinates of our first kiss. Marry me, Alex. Not despite the dark, because of it. Tears blurred, yes tumbling free. Cheers erupted, confetti raining like stars. But humanism tempers triumph, joy laced with the world's ache, love a verb demanding daily grace. As we drove west, rings catching sun, I glanced back, hawthorn receding, a chapter closed, but scars as signposts, guiding toward horizons shared. The road to Virginia unspooled under summer's relentless gaze, asphalt shimmering like a promise half-kept. We'd leased a one-bedroom in Alexandria, colonial charm masking the hum of D.C. Traffic, windows framing the Potomac's lazy curve. Seth started at Raytheon Monday, badge clipped crisp, while I job-hunted psych gigs, interviews a gauntlet of tell me about resilience, laced with our story's grit. Settling with symphony and stutter, IKEA runs for bookshelves bowed under Freud tomes, nights where his ties tangled with my hoodies in the hamper. Mornings, he'd wake me with coffee and kisses, drawl murmuring morning, husband-to-be like a prayer. Evenings, we'd collapse on thrift store thrift, takeout splayed, dissecting days, his classified briefs redacted to riddles, my resume woes met with his steady Yule shine. Love matured here, roots delving past passion's blaze to companionship's quiet coal. We hosted game nights for new friends, engineers ribbing his poet side, therapists probing my mechanic muse, laughter echoing off brick walls. Weekends wandered, kayaking the river at dawn, his paddle strokes syncing with mine, farmers markets where we'd haggle over heirloom tomatoes, fingers sticky with juice. Yet conflict lingered, subtle as Potomac fog. Seth's hours lengthened, overtime on a project, for the team, he'd say. Eyes evading. Texts lagged. Calls cut short by meetings. Doubt crept. Betrayal's echo whispering. Another mask? I buried it. focusing on my own wins, a clinic offer in Georgetown, entry-level but earnest, helping queer youth untangle identities knotted by worlds unkind. The high point crested in July. Our engagement party, a potluck affair in Rock Creek Park. Blankets spread under oaks. Fairy lights strung hasty. Friends toasting with craft IPAs. Ellen's compass watched from a cake topper, her spirit in every shared tale. Seth pulled me aside at dusk. Fireflies winking, ring turning on my finger. This us. It's the upgrade I never knew I needed. I kissed him fierce. Crowd whooping, heart full as the river's bend. From blackout to this. Worth every shadow. August brought the fracture, swift as a snapped cable. A late night, Seth stumbling in at 1 a.m., suit rumpled, scotch on his breath. A rarity, his vice buried deep. Rough day, he muttered, avoiding eyes as he shed tie. Rough how? Pressed. Dinner cold on the stove. He deflated, sinking to the counterstool. The project's classified defense contract. But ethical snag. Drones for border patrol. Alex. The kind that'd snag kids like I was. Horror chilled me. And you're building it? Upgrading sensors. Non-lethal, they swear. His laugh was bitter. But I know the math, false positives. Families torn. It's the devil's bargain for the green card. Stability. Betrayal surged. Not of heart but principle, the man who'd fled walls now fortifying them. We fled that. You fled that. How's this not complicit? It's survival, he snapped, voice cracking the kitchen's hush. For us, for a wedding without deportation shadows. You think I sleep easy? The fight spilled. Words lacerating. My idealism branded naive. His pragmatism cowardice. Doors slammed. Couch claimed for the night. Silence a chasm wider than interstates. Dawn found us hollow. Apologies tentative over burnt toast. I hate it too, he confessed. Hand over mine. Tendered notice this morning. Bridge burned, but clean. Relief flooded, but scars lingered, trust's fragility etched deeper. We leaned into therapy, a queer-affirming counselor in DuPont Circle. Sessions unpacking the blackout's birth. Ellen's loss, border's brutal bite. Love's not linear, she said, glasses perched wise. It's a rebuild. Every quake. Fall gilded DC. Leaves carpeting sidewalks like confetti from phantom parades. Seth pivoted, freelance consulting for green tech. Solar kits for migrant farms. His compass pointing true. I thrived at the clinic. Stories of youth echoing my own. A trans teen's quiet courage. A bi-kid's family fracture mended thread by thread. Evenings, we'd debrief over home-cooked falafel. Vulnerabilities traded like currency. Winter whispered vows. A courthouse ceremony in December. Snow dusting the steps. Witnesses our patchwork crew, Ohio kin via Zoom. Main friends in wool. No frills. Just us in suits off the rack. Rings exchanged under holly boughs. I vow to hold your face in every dark, Seth murmured. Voice thick. My yes a seal. Honeymoon was the farm. Shuttered now. But alive in memory. Bonfire under stars. Esmores charred just right. Dances slow to phantom jazz. Humanity's in the mess, I said, his head on my chest. Fire crackling. We choose grace amid it. Spring bloomed adoption talks. Fostering first. A boy named Luca, 10, with eyes wary as Seth's once were. Paperwork mountains loomed. But hope anchored, family forged, not bloodbound. Years folded forward. Luca's laughter filling rooms. Seth's patents lighting villages south of the line. My book on resilient love's hitting shelves modest. Conflicts came, job losses, health scares, the world's ceaseless churn. But we met them eye to eye, hands clasped, the blackout a talisman. In dark, we'd found light. 40. On Hawthorne's Bluffs, visiting prof gig for me, we stood where it began. Wind keening soft. That stranger, Seth said, arm around my waist. Luca skipping stones below. He knew. One night changes everything. I leaned in, lips brushing his. And every night since, we chose the change. Humanism's grace. Not perfection, but persistence. Love a lighthouse in fog, guiding through storms to harbors earned. In America's vast, fractured heart, we'd carved ours whole.